And vaulted ceilings or cathedral ceilings, slope ceilings, they create their own special challenges when it comes to lighting. The engineers were here yesterday and they were climbing in the attic. Aside from the dead rat, run! We can vault this ceiling. So now I have to start planning for the lighting of vaulted ceilings. The vaulted ceiling is a missed opportunity for lighting, for accent, for wow in your house, and I am not going to miss it in this one. So I'm going to show you the things that I'm thinking about and some of the common problems when it comes to a slope ceiling or a vaulted ceiling, cathedral ceiling. If you got one in your house, stick around. We're going to tear out this ceiling, hooray, and make it a vault or a cathedral ceiling. So we're going to have a sloped ceiling over our kitchen island and the cabinets in there. It's going to present some unique challenges, and slope ceilings always do. The first one, of course, is recessed lighting. It always is the biggest problem. It is the thing that is done wrong more than any other thing in lighting, in design in general. If you think about the amount of money you spend on that tub or that sofa or that stove, in 10 years, when you replace that beautiful light, that investment that you made in the ceiling will still be there. And if it's a cheap-ass wafer light, it might not be. Rant over. There's a couple of problems. One is you might not have any depth, because if you've got the roof right here and you're going up to it with just blown-in insulation, you don't have any room to do a traditional housing. A wafer light, if you put them on both sides of the slope, what you're going to end up with is Star Wars. This one's shooting light over here, this one's shooting a light over there with a big beam of 60 degrees. It's not the right way to light your space. The other problem I see with the recessed lights in vaulted ceilings is their placement. You don't need to throw them up everywhere. They still have to have a purpose. Regardless of where that light is going, they should not be thrown up there in a grid. The vault is a beautiful thing that should be celebrated and not blasted out with 50, 60 degrees of shitty light. There's a couple other problems that come with a sloped ceiling or a vaulted ceiling, especially in the kitchen. In this kitchen, the island is going to run parallel the same way as the slope. So if I want to hang pendants, they're going to have different height stems or different chains or different rods. When you order pendants, you need to check the specifications, because in here, ultimately, this ceiling is going to be 16 feet. A typical pendant is going to come with rods or stems or extensions for up to a 10-foot ceiling normally. So you have to check that the light that you want is going to have long enough chains to reach where you want the light to hang. And when it comes to a pendant or a chandelier over a dining table, 30 to 36 inches, that's the max. Maybe a little more if you're really tall, but any more than that, and it's not doing its job, you're not seeing it, it's not casting light in the right spots. It's tempting when you have a high ceiling to push the lights up higher, but that's not the right move. You still want the lights in the right spot, regardless of how high your roof is. Another thing I see is sconces. And sconces and vaulted ceilings can make for a very interesting pattern on the ceiling. So when you place them, be careful of what kind of shadows they cast. Enough said. The worst of all of it is when you don't accentuate the vault at all. I mean, this is going to be real estate that you can't get anywhere else. We're not pushing out walls. When you vault or cathedral a ceiling, you're gaining all of that visual square footage. I want to accent it. I want to show it off. That's the other mistake I see, is just not taking advantage and pointing up with lights and saying, hey, look at me. So what kind of recessed lights are going to work? Where am I going to put them? How much do they cost? What brand should I use? Well, first of all, I'm not recommending any brands unless there's somebody out there, maybe from Strong Island, that wants to be a sponsor. But when you're looking for recessed lights or wafer lights that have a baffle or 2 or 3 inches of a recess and not a flat flush mount light, that's not a recessed light. But when you're looking for those, look for brands that spell everything correctly in the description. Now, we're all guilty of buying cheap stuff from Amazon. However, these are fixtures. treat them as if they're a chandelier, because they're gonna be around longer than the chandelier. I know it hurts, and I know lighting comes at the end of the process. I was over $7,000 on my lighting bill. I get it, but it matters, and it's gonna count. I mean, think about how much you're spending on that stove. In 10 years, when you're pulling that stove out and you're replacing that kitchen, that light is still gonna be there. So invest in something quality. You can get something in a recessed housing that has a recessed bulb that is meant for sloped ceilings at different angles for a reasonable price. Because it's a sloped housing, they're gonna charge you more. There are some less expensive wafer type in that they're thin and that you could use them up by the rafters that have an adjustable gimbal so that you could aim the beam of light where you want it to go and not across the room. I think Lotus has one, Dolls has one, Whack definitely has an articulating really cool one that's like $30. So there are good quality lights that spell everything right in the description. When it comes to your pendants, make sure you read the specifications and you check that you have the correct height. So when you're looking for a pendant to use in a slope ceiling, you want to check and see what the available drop lengths are, or the stems that are available to extend it to the height that you need. So for instance, this one has 4 lengths at 12. It has 4 lengths at 24, 30, and 40 inches. So this is very flexible for up to a 20-foot ceiling. You want to check what the length is so that if you're hanging it over an island or a dining room table, that it's not floating way up in space, and that it is only 30 to 36 inches above the surface. So you want to make sure that you have the stems that are going to get you to the same length. If it's your island or a dining table, you want it to be 30 to 36 inches above. So you've got to do the math to figure out what stem pieces you need to make 2 different pendants, 2 different height ceiling pendants the same. I'll leave that math to you. I got to do my own. You can also do a trestle light where you adjust one side or the other. One cord that hangs down, that solves a lot of problems. You still want the light to come down to the level where you would have light normally, even if the ceiling was 8 feet. Otherwise, it gets lost up in there. If you're going to do a fan, because a lot of people live in warm climates where a high ceiling is going to trap all of that heat. If you've ever been in a house with the strobe light effect, if you have a fan and you have recessed lights that are too close to the diameter of the fan blades, you get that strobe light effect, and all of a sudden you're in a rave in LA. Here's what you do. Push those recessed lights out. Push them out further than you think, because imagine that fan is going and you're sitting over here and you're looking through that fan. You're still going to get that strobe light effect. Make sure that you push those recessed lights out. Away from the blades, you're going to have to see based on the slope of your ceiling, blah, blah, blah. Your house is going to be different. Check. But be aware, when you have a fan, you don't want any other lights creating that in your room. Make sure that you're accenting that vault, because people would kill for it. People will go over budget for it. You want to light it up. Uplighting, strip lighting along where the wall meets the angle, to do a piece of trim and drop strip lighting in there and cast uplighting on the ceiling. Perfect, easy. Uplighting down below, washing the walls, wall sconces, tape on the rafters. So uplighting, LED strip tape on the rafters, lighting up the ceiling. Make use of lots of different sources. The same rules apply. Layer your light, lots of different types, on dimmer. It'll be fabulous. We're going to pause now for this quick commercial break. I forget to ask you to subscribe. And 90% of you are watching these videos and you're not subscribed. Now that's fine. I don't give a shit. Actually, that's not true. I give a shit. I watch the subscriber counts because they allow me to get paid by sponsors and YouTube instead of working outside of here. And then I can concentrate on making more videos so you get more design information for free. I think that's it. Thanks so much for watching.